welcome to you all. My name is Katia and I'm an associate editor of the Journal of Small Business Management. Today, I have the great pleasure to talk with Dr. Odafe Egere about his paper that adopts a coherent approach for understanding how entrepreneurial ecosystems support micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to achieve transformational entrepreneurship, which builds sustainable business for long-term societal benefits. The paper has been co-authored by him together with his colleagues Maas and Paul Jones. Odafe is an assistant professor in entrepreneurship and innovation at Kent Business School in the UK. Their paper, Critical Analysis of the Nigerian Entrepreneurial Ecosystem on Transformational Entrepreneurship, has been published online in September 2022 in the Journal of Small Business Management. Welcome, Odafe.
Thank you.
So, Odafe, thanks for sharing the time with us today. To start with, can you please tell us where the idea for the paper came from?
Okay, yeah, very simple. I've been looking into the literature and trying to see some of the workings around, especially entrepreneurship and their progress in the developed society. And there was a position paper at Coventry University on transformational entrepreneurship that says for XMEs, for African nations, the global south, to begin to enjoy some of the benefits of entrepreneurship and moving entrepreneurship to begin to support socioeconomic development. The ideal thing is to begin to look at all the components that work in favor of entrepreneurship. For example, the ecosystem, the XMEs themselves, the private sector, and the public sector, including the resources within these countries and how we can bring all together and begin to exploit them to achieve this aspiration. So when I see this work publication, and I also saw a work from a SCOA about how it is very essential that we begin to look into the direction of transformational entrepreneurship, especially in the global south countries, to see if we can get it right in terms of making them more sustainable. And I thought to myself that it would be wise to do a very representative study in the case of Nigeria and see if I can get the XMEs and understand their own situation and position and how the ecosystem is helping them to achieve this aspiration. And so those were some of the thoughts that came up. And before this, we noticed that some of the research, especially in the context of Africa, they've not really, they've talked about the ecosystem quite well, but they've not done a representative study considering the XMEs themselves and looking at it from that direction. And so that was one of the things that brought us and my co-workers to explore that direction and see if we can make it more beneficial for our policymakers, the XMEs themselves, and the wider academic community.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting. My second question would be, what do you think is the most theoretical contribution of the study?
Sorry, just come again for that, please.
Sorry, I was asking, what is the most important theoretical contribution of the study?
Yeah, the key theoretical contribution, I would say, was trying to advance again the field of transformational entrepreneurship in the context of developing countries, especially we considering Nigeria, which is a major player in the African continent. So we have helped to advance some of the earliest theory. There were not so many theories trying to help us to understand this, the concept of entrepreneurial transformational entrepreneurship, but a few theories which points to that direction were able to theoretically advance they contribute and advance those work in that direction. So it will now become very beneficial in this regard to the majority of African countries, especially who will want to see that XMEs become more sustainable in their society. So we have helped to advance this theory. We have pushed it forward, and we still continue to push it forward so that it becomes something that policymakers, and it becomes very acceptable, or not necessarily acceptable. It's already being accepted, but become a very concerning issue for discussion going forward to help to build African continent. So we have really advanced the theory of transformational entrepreneurship in this regard, and we continue, and we believe we'll begin to still do more research to help to advance it further.
Thank you so much. Can you also share with us the most important recommendations for practitioners? And these could be policymakers or the owners and managers of the small firms themselves.
Yes, yeah, we made a few recommendations, which we see that will be very, we might want to call them implications from policy side of things. We believe there are a number of agencies that, especially in developing countries, where government put up some agencies to help to support entrepreneurship, XMEs. But what we discover in our research is that while some of these agencies exist, in terms of policy, they've been falling behind, and where they even have some of these policies being developed, the implementation is also another concern. So it is not developing the policies, but the implementation. So the key recommendation we are saying, let us also look at the implication of not just developing these policies, but also the implication of putting them in practice around places. For example, how can policymakers make very enabling policies to support XMEs to access markets better, to access financial resources better, and also from their own side to also look at how they can help to shaping the ecosystem towards the XMEs by providing the support mechanism and building adequate resources that the XMEs can use to advance their aspirations and their cause to become more sustainable.
Fantastic. Thank you, Odafe. Do you have any final thoughts you would like to share with me about the paper?
Yeah, we are currently, we're also looking at some more research in this regard. For example, we have been examining behavior, entrepreneurial behavior, and to see if we can also see something that is of concern. Not only, we have seen a lot of concern with the ecosystem, but we're also trying to see if there's also concern with the XMEs themselves, their behavior in terms of helping to advance and transformational entrepreneurship. So that's another area of research we've been exploring in the last few months. And we hope to have some publications come out from that. So yeah, number of thoughts, a whole number of thoughts. We also want to see more studies to look at other components and other mechanisms around the ecosystem. For example, look at firm performance and things around the XMEs themselves, if they are doing anything wrong on their side of things. We know the government have a lot of concern. We have a lot of concern with the government or policymakers, but we also have to water it down to see if there are also things we need to understudy in terms of the SMEs and their behavior and intention to help this process to become more to become more sustainable and achieve transformational entrepreneurship.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and knowledge about this really important topic with me and our stakeholders today. The full version of the paper is available at the Taylor and Francis website of the Journal of Small Business Management. I'm sure that the readers now want to read the full paper to get more context and background about the study. So thank you so much again, and I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for having me.